For a long while now, Cronus and Rhea had lived as husband and wife. Their marriage had been a happy one and was marked with peace and security on and around Mount Olympus. In this garden of endless bloom that was their lives, Rhea would soon conceive. What better way to refine an already perfect relationship than with the birth of a child conceived of love? Or so she thought, because when Cronus received the news that a son had been born to him one fine morning, his soul was greatly disturbed. Memories of an ancient past he'd worked hard to bury in the convolutions of his mind came frothing to the surface. You see, before the formation of the world, only two deities existed: Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky. They too had a great marriage that was only tainted by one thing. Uranus was deathly afraid of being dethroned by his children, so he did the most logical thing in his mind. He would get rid of them first before they could even think of getting rid of him. With the birth of each child, Uranus would cast them deep into the pits of earth. Frustrated with her husband, Gaia chose to save one child, who turned out to be Cronus. She carefully hid him in their bed, and when he was of age, Gaia helped Cronus overthrow Uranus. After an easy victory, Gaia further advised her son to castrate his father, Uranus, with a sickle, and then throw the genitals into the sea. Legend has it that the mixture of blood and sea form is what created the goddess Aphrodite, but that's story for another day. But as noted by William Shakespeare, the sins of the father are laid upon the children. Little did Cronus know he was destined to share the same fate as his father. A prophecy was foretold that just as he did, he too would be overthrown by one of his sons. Since then, a long time had passed, and Cronus had largely forgotten the curse until he heard the news of a son who'd been born to him. Then the madness of his father descended upon his heart. This time, it established a firmer grip on Cronus than it had on his father. Anxious to avert so great a calamity, Cronus beelined for his wife who was nursing the infant. Rhea was wholly unsuspicious when Cronus asked to hold the infant, whom she handed off with contained pride. Well, imagine her surprise and horror when she saw her husband swallow the child whole. Cronus was unfazed by his wife's screams and wailing. He was determined to keep his kingdom by all means, and so it was with the next four. Rhea would give birth to a child she hoped she could keep, but Cronus would soon come calling and then gulp. The infant would disappear down the insatiable belly of its father. This absolutely crushed Rhea's heart, and every time she conceived, she hoped that things would be different, but to no avail. At the end of her rope, Rhea sought the help of her parents. Following their advice the next time she was expectant, Rhea traveled to Crete and hid in a cave in the Cretan mountains. There, she planned to give birth in secret, of which she soon did. Her helpers were the Curettes who stood guard at the mouth of the cave as she gave birth to baby Zeus. To mask the cries of the infant, the Curetes punctuated the air with piercing screams, fiercely stamped their feet, and performed war dances. But even with all that, Rhea understood Cronus would not be fooled so easily. As she made her way back to their palace, she brought with her a swaddle wrapped around a stone. True to her suspicions, Cronus soon came calling. Intuition, or word, had reached him that a baby had been born, and he wanted to hold it. As part of her ruse, Rhea zealously pleaded with him not to consume this infant without success. At last, she pretended to yield to her husband's demands and handed him the swaddled stone. None the wise, the stone along with its swaddle disappeared down the throat of Cronus, who left patting himself on the back. Why wouldn't he? He'd yet again cheated destiny. But as the saying goes, a man meets his destiny on the same road he takes to avoid it. Cronus's demented appetite for his children would be his undoing. The ball had been set rolling, and it was now only a matter of time before Cronus would have to confront his fate. In the Cretan mountains, Zeus grew up to be a fine, wonderful lad, thanks to the nymph Melissa and the goat Amalthea, who played an imperative role in his childhood. Melissa was the primary caretaker of Zeus. As his nurse, she always fed him nourishing honey, which was known to make a child grow faster. Zeus would then suckle on Amalthea the goat's horn from which all manner of good things would come forth. Even if away from the tender bosom of his mother, and knowing her breasts not, Zeus lacked for nothing and would soon come of age. Now, there are two versions of the events that saw Zeus usurp his father. In one, it was a bloodless coup. In the other, Zeus took over the throne after a terrible, decade-long war, the Titanomachy. The second version is more interesting. To set the stage, the word Titanomachy comes from the Greek words titan, referring to the Titans, and mache, meaning battle or conflict. The Titans were the elder gods who ruled during the Golden Age, those born of Uranus and Gaia. The most notable Titans included Cronus, Rhea, Oceanus, and Hyperion. So how did the powerful Titans find themselves at war against a new order of gods? It all started with Zeus. When he came of age, he found himself working as his father's cupbearer, while keeping his true identity a secret. While in this role, he enlisted the help of Metis, who would later become his first wife, to help him fulfill his destiny. Metis advised Zeus to mix Cronus's wine with mustard. This combination made Cronus violently throw up every one of his swallowed children. With his siblings free, Zeus gathered them together and told them of the great transgression their father had dealt them. With his urging, Zeus convinced them to start a rebellion against Cronus. Only that this was no longer about a son usurping his father's throne. The battle was now won between a new age of gods known as the Olympians and their predecessors, the Titans. The Olympians consisted of Zeus himself and his freed siblings, who included Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia. For his part, Cronus enlisted the help of his fellow Titans, Rhea, Atlas, Hyperion, Iapetus, Menoetius, Caius, and Creus. Of course, the Titan army would be hard to defeat with all this might in their ranks. But Zeus was not one to fall into despair. He freed the children Uranus had imprisoned in the pits of earth and convinced them to fight against their siblings. These included Cyclopes, one-eyed giants who forged Zeus' thunderbolts, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of invisibility. Additionally, there were the Hecatonchires, also known as the 100-handed ones, giants of incredible strength with 100 arms each. They fought by hurling massive boulders at the Titans. Finally, a Titan called Prometheus had the gift of foreseeing the future and fought alongside the Olympians from the start. It is this same Prometheus that would create mankind and later defy Zeus by stealing fire for humanity. And so the battle lines were drawn. For a grueling 10 years, the two sides fought bitterly until the Olympians finally won. Among the Titans, Zeus spared Oceanus, Prometheus for his allyship, and Themis, who, being the personification of divine order, later in the war switched sides and supported the Olympians. The rest of the defeated Titans were then imprisoned in Tartarus, a deep abyss in the underworld. The same abyss where Uranus had cast his unwanted children. Atlas received a slightly less harsh punishment and was condemned to forever hold up the sky. With their victory now cemented, Zeus fairly divided up the kingdom with his two brothers. Zeus took over as the king of the sky and ruler of the gods and mortals. Poseidon took over as ruler of the sea. Hades became the ruler of the underworld. Zeus took his sister Hera as his wife, and she became the goddess of marriage and family. On the other hand, Demeter became the goddess of the harvest and agriculture, and Hestia became the goddess of the hearth and home. And that's the tale of how Zeus came to be, and how he put an end to the murderous arc that had started with his grandfather. As one of the key figures of Greek mythology, the story of Zeus's birth has been retold numerous times. In it, important themes like power, rebellion, and the cyclical nature of time are portrayed. Most importantly, this tale signifies the triumph of a new order, the Olympian gods over an older one, the Titans. But if Zeus thought that his reign would forever be peaceful with him and his brothers at the helm, he was sorely mistaken. For thousands of ages later, a race or giants waged such a terrible war against the Olympians that it nearly toppled the divine order of Zeus. But that's the story of another video. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe for more content. It helps this channel reach more audience, which in return helps us create more videos for you guys. Don't forget to share and leave a comment too. Until next time, take care.